Welcome to my podcast, You Are More. I'm your host, Amy, and I could not be more excited to be here today with my guest, Mike Molstead. It has been about a 2-year process. I've been asking him to be on this podcast, and he finally said yes. So welcome, my friend, Mike Molstead, to my podcast.
Thanks, Amy. I almost drove by. But
It's great to have you here.
it's good to be here.
Do you know, I wanted Mike to come on the show because here's what we got going on. It's November. It's Thanksgiving week, actually. And I love November. I love that, the whole idea of gratitude. And I'm looking at someone across from me that who has chosen to live his life in massive gratitude. I'm going to let him share your story, but when he's 39 years old, Mike he's an amazing athlete. Everything he puts his hand to turns to gold and sold and exceeds and excels and it prospers. And then he hits a road bump at what, 39?
39.
Tell us about it.
Well, at 39, I was diagnosed with lung cancer.
Yeah.
And so, it's been a 22-year journey.
Yeah. So 22 years of having to do mental gymnastics.
Yes. Lots of mental gymnastics, a lot of traveling, a lot of, trying to trust God, have faith.
Yeah.
At the same time, do the things that I knew I needed to do to stay here for my family.
Right. So you beat it one time, you have surgery and you beat it. And a couple years later, it's in the other lung.
Yeah. So in 2001, I actually had a rib injury from golf. I was a state lawn drive champ at the time and tried to hit a 400-yard shot. Hurt myself at Burns Park here in town. But anyway, so I ended up at Mayo for that. And we had a 6-month-old at the time, Paul and I, little Jackson, who's now 23.
Wow.
So, they walk in a room, they did a CT scan to try to figure out what to do with that lung, or that rib that was messed up is what I had, a dislocated rib. And they found a spot on my lung. So at the time, they removed my upper lobe and said, that should be it. It was a small spot, stage 1A, no chemo, no radiation. We don't think 95% chance you'll never see it again. Got to the 5-year mark and we were all ready to celebrate, even I think had a hotel room in Rochester lined up and we're going to go out for dinner and celebrate and all that. And they dropped a bomb on me that was in my left lung.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah. And then from there, we went another 5 years. And in 2011, it was back in my right lung again. So,
okay.
So 3 major operations, 3 thoracotomies, 3 brutal procedures, but we're still here.
You're still here. Tell me, so for someone who's not sat on that side of the news, right? Like, tell me what kind of comes into clarity. What happens when you get that kind of news?
Oh, it's devastating. And you've known me a long time. So, I'm a very positive, forward-thinking, cups half full guy. And so certainly Paul and I, who, that's my wife and she's my co-pilot and has been the whole way and my advocate, and you need an advocate. You really do. But certainly we've had our down moments, but my mentality my whole life has been, it's okay to be down, but it's not okay to stay down.
Right.
So, I just pull my bootstraps back up and say, let's go and let's figure it out. And so, and that's included a whole lot of stuff, which we'll probably talk about here today.
So guys, let's talk about this. 20 years battling cancer.
Almost 23 now.
23 years battling
lung cancer.
Mm-hmm. And all along you march around and you run a fantastic dealership. You have big vision. You're still you put a big, a whole nother addition on your dealership. You're thinking you're just growing things, doing you, right?
Yeah,
being Mike.
Yes.
Growing and doing things. And then you get another blow.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, going back to the beginning, it's interesting. I'm an interesting beast, so to speak. So I try not to do this kind of stuff because it makes it too real for me. And so I just try to block things out that I don't want to have a negative effect on my thinking or how I go about life. And so I was pretty good at that until 2015, actually. So even through 01, 06, 11, even though each time I had major operations and lost part of each lung, both upper lobes and part of the middle lobe, and dislocated my shoulders and broke my ribs and all the things that go with having a thoracotomy, which is brutal. Wouldn't wish it on anybody. But in 2015, though, suddenly I had 7 tumors on my right lung. And they said there was nothing else they could do surgically. Mm-hmm. And so, that was a blow. Mm-hmm. In 2011, they told me I was stage 4. On the way home, I can remember having a conversation with Paula. We've had a lot of trips to Mayo, hundreds.
Yeah.
A lot of them, more than half that were negative.
Yeah.
So you have some drives where you're shedding tears and saying, why me, and all that kind of stuff. It's about an 1.5-hour drive, so it gives me time to get that out of my system.
Yeah.
But in 11, when they told me I was stage 4, after my 3rd surgery, when we went back for my 6-week follow-up, they dropped a pretty big bomb on me, and that was on us that, there's no evidence of disease, but we believe you're stage 4. And we're like, what? And of course, I was big and strong still. And they said, yeah, there's no reason for you to be getting it. You had it 3 times, so there's no reason for us to believe you won't get it again. And there's really nothing we can do about it because it's lung cancer, So 15, they show up. In 11, I decided we weren't going to tell the kids.
Okay.
Because why would I? I mean, I looked great. I felt great. In 15, it seemed like it was time to tell the kids. And so we had to go through that brutal sit down as a group, talk about the fact that Dad might not be here next year. Now that was 8 years ago. Yeah. And I'm still here. So, but that didn't stop us from continuing to believe that God is big enough to heal me. Uh-huh. We still believe that. Uh-huh. And to believe that, through, lots of hard work, because I put a lot of work into it too. Yeah. I could hang around for a while, and we're still here. The last year has been the worst, but the last year has been brutal. So I needed your podcast from last week just to say, hey, let's flush this last year. Yeah. And let's look for 24. So I know that's a women's retreat you have going, but I might sneak in the back and just so I can catch what you got to say. So. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you think, man, I've gone through difficulty, I've gone through struggle, here's what I can tell you. This guy has walked through hell and back and continues to walk through hell and back and shows up for his family, his work, his people, and you still show up strong. You still show up as a leader. And I'm sure there's times you just want to crumble.
Oh yeah, for sure. But fortunately, God gave me a strong mind. And when I start to feel sorry for myself, I think, this is a waste of time. Yeah. And I don't know how much time I have. Yeah. So why would I sit here and waste any time that I have left? And I've had that mentality for a long time, and it's served me well. And I know, it's hard for people. I would just say, I do lean into my wife. My wife is encouraged me. She encourages me every single day. Yeah. Sends me scripture every day. Yeah. She's much in the last year, because I haven't been able to see. Yeah. Because of the medication I was on, I couldn't even read, which I'm a big reader. So she reads the Bible, then shares things with me because I can't see it. Yeah. And I'm sharing things I don't normally share because I'm just fairly private about it. And I go about it in I wouldn't say a business like manner, but more of a manner of I love my wife fiercely. I love my family fiercely. My friends like you. I'm probably as loyal as anybody on the planet. And I'm not going out quietly. So I'll get up and I got a high pain tolerance, thankfully, because I've needed that, especially this year. But so I just I do what I got to do. So.
Mike, tell me, what is the mental gymnastic that you have to, like, I've always talked about the power of flipping the script. I can't imagine. I walked through a quick health crisis, right? It nothing, not even remotely in comparison, not even close. But I have had to flip a script, and constantly there's that mental part that's 10 times as challenging sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess it's kind of like where the rubber meets the road. So for me, it's like I look at it as there's a lot of people that talk a big game in life. Okay. But it's easy to be, this is my stuff. I've always said to my employees, it's easy to be a good friend when it's easy. It's easy to be a Christian when it's easy. It's easy to be a good wife when it's easy, a good husband. But when crap hits the fan, when life gets hard, that's when you see what people are really all about. And so I take it more as a, it's just, it's my duty. It's my obligation to my family. It's just how I'm hardwired. So, and I have been since I was a little boy. I think most people that know me know that, I was never accused of being the smartest guy around, but I was one of the tougher guys around. I could handle stuff. So, And so, truthfully, even in business and everything else, odds have kind of been stacked against me somewhat. And so, I guess I'm used to that part of it, but all that being said, I wouldn't wish it on anybody again. One thing early on, I started to look online at lung cancer.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
I was like, I choose not to do that. I won't do that. In the last year, I've had to do a little more of that because of the fact that it's gone a little farther, and there was some setbacks, and we decided to try some different Western medicine, and that we hadn't done, but it's I don't know. I'm not looking at that anymore. Right now, I'm just like I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. I'm going to win every day.
Yeah.
And that's my mentality. So, and work wise, I'm not sure why I'm so driven that way, but I wanted to build a great company. I wanted to be, when I say a great company, I don't mean for myself. I meant for everybody that works there, and have a unique environment, which I feel here every time I'm here with your company. I brag about this place all the time to people because I'm like, you just need to go in there. Just go in and just feel it. And I had last week we had a dealer from the Quad Cities that came up with 5 of his employees, and he's got a big $13 million new facility that he built about 8 years ago. Came through our addition that you were talking about that we built 2 years ago, and said, oh my gosh, now I got to redo my whole place. But he brought his guys and gals up, and I got the nicest email from his general manager just saying you could just feel the difference in your place, the culture, and that was all unsolicited, which to me means we're doing something right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Mike, tell me what it is, like, what's your go-to that to find strength, to find I know it's your family, but when you get down, how do you dig deep? Like, where do you go to? Like, what do you pull up on the inside to persevere?
Well, my wife is my number one strength. And so I love her so much that when I'm hurting like that, I'll get emotional now probably, but she's the first person I think of.
Yeah.
I have to do this. I'm not leaving her by herself. Yeah. And that's my mentality.
That's your why.
Yeah. That's my why. Yeah. And so, that's probably the biggest thing. I definitely draw on, you were talking last week's podcast about a 95-year-old lady. Well, I happen to know her husband.
Yeah.
And when I was 14, I accepted Christ as my Savior with him as my leader.
Yeah.
And, I've been a professional fence straddler my whole life, but that faith that, you mentioned, which, when I saw that in the Bible, I guess I never really understood how God could keep forgiving me for all the things that I kept doing when I was 20, let's say, and things like that, when I knew I shouldn't be doing them. And then I had kids.
Yeah.
And then it all made sense to me because my kids could screw up like crazy. And I was disappointed. I didn't love them any less. In fact, probably loved them more, right? Yeah. Especially when they made big mistakes. So, my faith started at that young age of 14. It definitely flowed around a little bit, but I grew up with a dad that had some troubles with alcohol and things like that. So that was never an attraction to me. I saw the dark side of it and just thought, that's not what I want in my life. I want I want to be a dad. I want to be really good at that. I want to be a husband. I want to be really good at that. And then I wanted to be well, my wife encouraged me to get my own business because I was running somebody else's business at the time, and I probably would have kept doing that.
Yeah.
Because of her saying, you need to go do your own thing. And I'm like, you know how much money it takes to do that, you know? And we just stuck our necks so far out. It was unbelievable and took big risk like you talked about last week. And you know, that's what, it's the chase in life that makes life so exciting to me. And so even my own kids, I always tell them, you know, it's dream big, think big, you know, and with my employees, same thing. I very often will say, you're not dreaming big enough. You don't see your life. I see your life bigger than you see it.
Yeah.
And so I try to help them with that. And that's kind of my mission at this point, to be honest with you now, especially I'm feeling so much better because you know, last few months I would have been on quicker, but I wasn't feeling the greatest. And is, okay, God, with whatever time I have left, whether it's a year, 10, 20, whatever, I want to be a positive impact on people's life, give people hope.
Yeah.
So for those out there that are up against, I mean, you can't be any more up against something than stage 4 lung cancer.
Yeah.
In 23 years, I mean, we were just at a clinic in California last week. So, you know, I turn, well, because of Paula, we turn every rock over possible. This particular doctor doesn't typically even take stage 4 patients, but Paula just was persistent.
Yeah.
And she's cute and persistent, and they just couldn't say no to her. So away we went. And it was an amazing experience, and just such a different approach to, you know, how to battle the beast. And, you know, there's wins and losses on both sides. You don't hear about all the losses typically all the time, but unless somebody's against how you're approaching it.
Right.
And, you know, the things that I do on a daily basis that take 4, 5, 6 hours, most people wouldn't be willing to put that to, you know, I couldn't eat that way if they're, so let's say diabetic. Well, I could never eat like that. I'm just going to take a pill. Well, you know, yeah, you can if your life depends on it. At least I can. If my life depends on it. And so I just suck it up and do all the stuff I got to do. Get up real early and
go
get a big
to
coffee in it, and let's go. And and go to bed real early now too, but when I can. But anyway, so yeah.
I want to talk to you about your morning routine in a minute, but first I want to talk to you quickly about this. What does the power of hope and gratitude play in your life?
Oh man, I would be without hope and faith. And I've had this discussion with so many. I have a number of cancer patients that have come to me to talk, and they're like, "You just have so much faith and hope," and I can't imagine not having hope. You know what I mean? But I think you have to have Jesus in your heart for that. And so the gratitude thing, I'm such a jock. I asked my wife today, so grateful just means like, what am I thankful for? Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, which I'm thankful for so much, but every day it's just another day.
Yeah.
Right now it's a clear head. My vision's getting better.
Yeah.
And all these things because I'm off of a medication that, you know, was actually killing me. We just found out, but so, which makes a lot of sense for how I was feeling, but so, you know, grateful. So, you know, if I was making a list of what I'm grateful for, I've already talked about Paula, my kids, and, you know, that would be right at the top, of course, my faith, but friends, people like you, you know, your mom and dad, for instance, who, you know, I haven't really told too many people this, but I want to give them a shout out because Scott and Barb were at all 3 of my surgeries at Mayo Clinic. They're the only 2 people that were at all 3 of my surgeries other than maybe my children. And it wasn't solicited. I didn't ask them. I mean, and then your mother took care of Jackson for weeks when I was back in the hospital with a terrible infection. And, you know, we had this little baby boy and my wife wouldn't leave my side in the hospital. And your mother just stepped up, took care of him. And, you know, your dad and I have been super tight for a long time. You know, as the kids got older, we started doing our kid stuff. Because that's just what you do when you get older. But when you were young, we were hanging out every weekend, right? So, and Steph was my babysitter and she was really good. Her little green glasses. But so, and, you know, your dad and I talked 2 days ago. I just, I'd be lost without him. So friendships like that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for. We had a Thanksgiving lunch today with our employees, and I just looked around. I thought, man, I'm just so grateful for these people.
Yeah.
And you probably feel the same way, but we
I
got
do.
the greatest people in the world working for us. So,
Mhm.
and I almost feel bad for people when they leave. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I just feel bad for them because, they might leave because they think they're going to make a few more bucks or whatever. But, what's being happy every day going in worth and
Yeah.
those kind of things. So anyway, yeah, I'm grateful. I could probably talk all day about what I'm grateful for.
Mike, tell me this.
Yes.
The power of your morning routine.
Yes.
So I'm a big morning routine person. You are a morning routine person. I think you always were a morning routine person, but now you have a schedule that you have to.
Yeah, and mine has changed drastically. So, if I had my way, my routine would be get up, have my coffee and quiet time maybe, and then, get in the weight room and do that. So those kind of things. It now entails, a host of treatments that we do at home.
Okay.
But we started a new routine when we came back from California. And that is that now there's a little colder out. We get up early, 5:30 at the latest probably, and then we make coffee and then we sit by a fire and talk.
Okay.
Yeah, for Paul and I.
Okay.
And then she goes one way, I go another. So, and she's headed for the Bible and her morning quiet time, and I'm headed to do my regimen of things, which I actually wrote them down.
Yeah, I'd like to know it actually.
This is a list. Now, people are going to think it's really weird, but we start with coffee enemas, which is going to sound weird, but in the alternative cancer world, that's to detox your liver, and I've actually been doing that for like 15 years. So I don't intend to ever quit. Everywhere I go, I was just in California. They are like, this might not be something you want to do, but you might want to consider coffee enemas. I said, I've been doing this for 15 years. They're like, you got to be kidding me. That's amazing. And you do them like 3 days a week. I said, I do them every day of the week. And because my mentality with cancer is this: cancer doesn't take a day off, so I don't take a day off.
Yeah.
So now that doesn't mean we don't ever have a day we don't get any of these in, because we travel and do things and it's impossible. So, but I had Paula write them down real quick, so I'll just read them quick because it would take forever. But there's 15 different things. I don't do all these every day, but I try.
Yeah.
So we do supplements, which are the supplements I'm currently on are tailored strictly to my blood work that was done through a cancer clinic, and will help my immune system to do what it needs to do, because it's not always doing its job. So I have a laser light watch I wear, and it take too long to get into that, but I've taken activator, then put that on 30 minutes later, wear it for an hour. Red light therapy, which you've probably heard of before, but I do full body red light therapy. And then I've got a vibration plate that I stand on while I'm doing that, which is for activating your lymph system.
Yeah.
So I dry brush and then do infrared sauna.
Okay.
On the one day, the next day I do hyperthermia, which is also a sauna, but it's a lay down, and you actually increase your body temperature to 107, 108. So you almost like cancer doesn't like heat.
Yeah.
So that's the thought behind it. We have a hyperbaric chamber, and so I do that every other day for an hour.
Okay.
And that's a fairly new piece we bought. They're not cheap, I'll tell you that right now, but blessed that we could get one, and it's got a whole host of things it's good for. It's good for my eyesight. It's good for healing wounds, but it's also good for over-oxygenating your body, which cancer can't survive in an over-oxygenated environment. So get outside a lot. Grounding is important. Get a lot of sunshine, a lot of vitamin D. So I walk every day. I try to walk 2 to 4 miles every day. That blows Mayo and everybody away when I tell them that. Can you walk upstairs? Can you walk without I mean, literally, California was like, are you in a wheelchair? Stage 4? Do you have nope. You'll never know. He's got stage 4 cancer. So anyway, photodynamic therapy, which is ultrasound. That's something that we got in Mexico at a clinic, but you can't even get it in the U.S. I had to get it there, unfortunately. Sadly, you can get it all parts of the world, but not here. But if you're this is a crazy thing. In Mexico, I PubMeded it to see, and there was 800 articles on it on killing cancer cells.
Wow.
In the U.S., if you Google it, you can't find it. It says
Wow.
it's just not here.
Yeah.
So, and then I have a helmet that I wear, red light helmet I wear for a half hour. That is for the brain mets I've had. So trying to get those healed up. So I have a hydrogen oxygen machine that I wear with a cannula that I wear for 30 minutes a day to, again, get oxygen in my body. And then a PFMF mat and a biomat. So that's a lot
Matt,
of
you
stuff.
have, it is a, Mike, this is a job.
It is a job, and it can overwhelm you. And there are days where you're just like, oh my gosh, but I'm still here. So, and we went to California. I met this famous doctor there the first day we were there. She's been at this a long time, considered the top integrative oncologist in the United States. And she said to me, so what type of cancer? And I said, 23 years with lung cancer. And she said, what? And she said, you're a miracle. Yeah. And then I showed her a tattoo on my arm that has the date of my first surgery, which happens to be July 17th of 2001. And she goes, that's my birthday.
Wow.
And I said, I had 2 of my 3 surgeries on that day.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? I have no idea if some of that's working. None of it's working. All of it's working. But I'm just not willing to, I'm not going to stop.
There's not even, they don't even have anything to track you anymore.
No.
Because you've outlived everything. Yeah. You've blown every statistic.
Yeah. The first time I had the lung cancer, I had a less than 15% chance of living 5 years. And then the second time, less than 4%. And then the third time, there is no third time. So, I mean, even when Lance Armstrong came through, if you remember that, the first time, we were fortunate enough, we were supposed to meet him, but his main person was up in the McLeod Center, and the president of the university invited us because of my cancer journey. And his main guy of the Lance Armstrong Foundation came over because he saw me wearing a wristband and assumed I was a survivor, and asked me, at the time I'd had lung cancer twice is all. And I said, yeah, 2-time lung cancer. He said, what? I said, yeah. He goes, I don't meet many 2-time lung cancer survivors. And then he was nice enough to tip me off that you're not actually going to meet Lance. he's going to walk in here. He's going to walk to the podium. He's going to say about 5 words. He's going to walk out and everybody's going to be disappointed. And that's exactly what happened.
But so Mike, like literally you are fierce. 23 years of fighting this holistically, having to step in with some chemo off and on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm by no means, I would never want to tell anybody, I've done, in 2017, I went to Lake Tahoe, and drove down to Reno every day for 3 weeks and, did, low dose, insulin induced chemotherapy, which is again done in other parts of the world. So they don't give you the full dose. And I won't go into the whole gymnastics of it, but there's a thought method behind it. And the California doctor I'm at now, that's how she does it. And then in 2019, I had my first brain met. And so I did a clinical trial at the time. And I actually went back. I had trouble with the drug, I'm not going to lie, but the brain met went away. And then in 2021, I had 3 mets, and then it ended up being 10 before we were done. So I've had brain surgery in the last year for those. I was on a drug for about a year that we just found out on October 20th because I was getting sicker and sicker. It was actually killing me.
Wow.
So I was full of pneumonia, and I was pretty rough shape. But it's just 3 or 4 weeks later, and
you're great.
I could wrestle a bear today, I think. So yeah.
You seem like you could.
Yeah.
Tell me this, Mike. I'm sure you imagine a day that like you go back there and they're like, hey, it's gone. Look what you've accomplished with almost a gorilla on your back. Really. I mean, it's like a gorilla, right? Look what you've accomplished. What would you imagine a day like that? Because I think about all the people that have problems. They wake up with problems, and I'm like, they got no problems. They've just never had a real problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they don't take a lot of action steps. They don't do a lot. Because they've got a problem.
Right.
You have had a gun to your head for the last 23 years.
Right.
that has created, I mean, when I think about you, I'm like, man, the mental toughness that you have is like Navy SEAL type toughness, right? But what would you say to somebody that maybe just got diagnosed with something, that maybe just had divorce papers served to them and they think their world is crashing? Someone that's had a devastating blow, maybe they just lost a spouse. What would you say to them that you've had to just really take in from the inside in your darkest moment?
I would say that it's normal to get low. It's normal to feel bad. That's just normal. And I've had those moments, but you can't stay there.
Yeah.
You got to put one foot in front of the other, and nobody's going to do it for you. And it's hard. I mean, it is hard, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And I think a lot of times people, maybe because of how they were raised, they didn't get a lot of positive affirmation from somebody. Maybe they just haven't been told a lot that they were loved or whatever. They can't see themselves doing it, but you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You know, I wish I was a Navy SEAL. That's like my dream. In fact, every time one of those guys writes a book or whatever, I just want to get it. Every podcast, I want to listen to it because I want that mentality.
You have that mentality, Mike.
Well, it's a work in progress, but I want it. I want to be, we were blessed to actually be in Coronado one time, staying at the famous hotel there and watch those guys going up and down the beach and carrying, telephone poles. And I was like, man, those guys are so tough. And their mindset is so amazing. And, I think that I had that maybe in business first. And so I was, cause you know how it is when you start off in business, it can be kind of hard, especially if you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, which I didn't. So, but you just do what you have to do. And for me, that was 18-hour days sometimes if it had to be. Sometimes they're 11 o'clock at night, still trying to put a couple of deals together, so I knew that we could make payroll the next day.
Yeah.
That mindset is just something. I teach an entrepreneurial class once in a while. I haven't now for a couple of years, so they must have got sick of listening to me, or maybe kids aren't into that anymore, but high school used to have me come up. I think the teacher that I always did it for retired too, but it was always interesting because I asked the kids how many really wanted to be entrepreneurs in the class. It'd only be about half of them. And then you'd ask them why, and it would be, oh, I want to have a big boat, or I want to have that second, that huge house or whatever. And I was like, oh man, you guys are in trouble because that's way down the line. You better have a fire in your belly, and you better be wanting to, it's just so many layers to it to make a business work. But for those people that are hurting, and I can't speak to all of those things. All I can say is that in my particular case, I tried to focus on the reasons I had to live, and the reasons that I knew that I needed to put one foot in front of the other, and I would tell them the same thing.
Yeah.
Focus on a person or persons or the reasons.
Yeah.
And I knew what my why was.
Yeah.
And it was spelled Paula, but and so, but yeah, I don't know if that's a good answer.
That's powerful for someone walking through difficult days. Mike, tell me this again. Amazing. You're an amazing survivor. You're an overcomer. You've walked through adversity. And from the outside, I know you've had really hard days and probably a lot of dark nights, but from the outside, you've walked through so victoriously, right? To the world, you've walked through victorious. I know that there's fear and anxiety and worry and sadness and all that, but you inspire so many by your putting one foot in front of the other and just staying positive. What would you say to somebody today as like, this is my life theme. This is my life. This is how I live my life. It's my theme. What is it?
There's always hope.
Yeah.
It was important to me that I've never been big on sympathy.
Yeah.
And so it was important to me to not have people see that, to see maybe by my actions that you you can get over big hurdles. You can, I mean, massive hurdles, right? This isn't just a big hurdle, it's massive.
Yeah.
And so, you know, whether it was going to a UNI game and sitting courtside, or whether it was seeing somebody in public somewhere or whatever, it was always important to me that um, that they didn't see it all over me, I guess.
Yeah.
And even if I was having a really bad day, you know, you meet people all the time that you say, "How you doing?" And you know what you're looking for is, "Oh, I'm doing pretty good," and then they dump, "Well, I got this, I got that, I got this," and 40 minutes later, you're like, "Oh man."
Yeah.
You know, and it's some people's human nature is just wanting to, you know, I've got this monkey and I want to put it on you. And it's just never been my nature.
Yeah.
My nature's been more to, I own my own problems. If I created them, I can uncreate them. And if I have this disease I wouldn't wish on anybody, I don't want to make other people feel like they have it. Now, when they ask, I try to, you know, it's really interesting. So the first trip to Mayo in 2001, my good buddy Greg McDermott called me. I remember right where I was at. He was coaching UNI at the time, and I don't know if you saw the Hawkeye game this week, but
I've heard about it. Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't even know it was happening.
Wow.
I wasn't even watching. I was at the UNI game my son was playing it, but it was so amazing they did it. But anyway, he called me and it just said, "Hey Mo, you know, geez, you know, he's trying to say anything to, you know." We both were in shock that they thought I had lung cancer, right? I still was convinced I didn't have it, but I said, "Greg, I just want to see one kid get married."
Yeah.
And then, you know, in 2006, I was cutting different deals with God. God, I just, you know, if I could just, you know, see one grandchild.
Yeah.
And then 2011, ironically, I'd had several churches ask me to speak, and I always felt hypocritical. I just didn't think I was good enough to do that. Too much of a sinner, I guess, in my own mind. But so I always made up excuses, kind of like I have for you. And so I was like, okay, God, I'll do whatever it takes to give people hope.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes. If somebody asks me to speak, which fortunately nobody's asked until you, well, one other guy, I did one other podcast once, but you know, I now have 12 grandkids. 4 of the 5 kids are married. Jack's getting married in June. So, you know, I mean, it's been amazing. You know, you know who Stephen Colbert is, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Stephen Colbert fan, although I've become a little more of a fan lately because my son Jared on my birthday, which was in October, sent me this video, and he knows I'm not a huge fan of his. I'm pretty conservative, and Colbert doesn't come off conservative, but I was reading about him yesterday. He was talking about his Christian walk. So, you know, don't judge a book by its cover sometimes, but he was being interviewed by Anderson Cooper.
Okay.
And I would encourage everybody out there actually to go watch that, especially if you are up against something like I am, because he in the middle of it, Anderson got pretty emotional and re-quoted a quote from Stephen Colbert, which was, I won't get it perfect here, but it was basically that he was grateful for the hard things like what I'm dealing with, and and then he asked him, "Do you mean that? And do you mean that?" And he actually had said something to the extent of that, you know, some of the suffering that that God's allowed to happen in his life was actually he was grateful for it.
Yeah.
And today of all days, I'm coming here, right? The only thing you had told me was maybe we're going to talk gratitude a little bit, and we agreed we wanted to do it raw. And but my wife sent me a message this morning saying that she's reading the Bible in a year, and my favorite book is James, and that started tomorrow. And she sent me a video that kind of recapped it. And I go to the book of James and Proverbs nonstop, and so I watched this little 7-minute video, and then I actually snuck ahead and read the first chapter. And in the second verse, it talks about that hard things are going to happen, and it's it's making you, it's going to make you tougher, better person. I'm trying to think of the right word that's in there because I'm not good at quoting scripture, but it was like, it's just crazy that this is talking about exactly what I'm going to talk to Amy about today. But
Tell me this, and just kind of as a final question, tell me what the gift is that you've developed. What is the gift in your adversity that you've seen?
I would say the gift would be that I actually would look at having cancer as, although it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And so that's going to sound really weird to people. But for me, because I don't think I would appreciate friendship, I don't think I'd appreciate my marriage, all those things at the level that I do. I mean, right now, I just appreciate looking at the sun, or, that I could actually see a golf ball off in the distance, because over the last year I couldn't see it at all. And so I think that if to answer that question weirdly, that it would be that even though it's certainly the worst thing that's ever happened to me, it's also the best thing ever happened to me, and brought me closer to God and brought our family closer together. And it's hard when you see your kids hurting because they know you're hurting. But that probably also is another reason why I was always kind of putting the mask on and trying to put on a
positive front.
Yeah, positive front. So they don't, I don't want them to worry about me all day long any more than they already do. And I want them to know that I'm going to fight like heck. And got to be careful on her not to swear. I swear once in a while. So.
That's fine. It's all good.
Anyway, so.
Well, Mike, here's the thing. You're awesome. And I pray for you and Paula a lot. And just oftentimes I pray that you just hope, because I know hope's an anchor. Yeah. Hope keeps you moving. Hope keeps you going. And so.
Can I say one thing on that quick?
Yeah.
So I know I've been on a long time, and now I want to just keep going.
Yeah.
You said I would too.
Yeah.
No, I may get emotional here, but I want you to know how much that means to me. Because I can't tell people how many times you've called me at just the right times, and sometimes really early in the morning, sometimes later. It's just and they've always been at great times where I've needed it, and you've just prayed for me, and sometimes you just need that. You need that little shot of energy to, even though you might be fighting like you're fighting Muhammad Ali and you're right in the ring with him and all that. Sometimes you're just like tired. And, the last 12 months, a couple different times I told Paul, I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
And that was hard for both of us. Because you get emotional, and she's like, I know you're tired, but you can't stop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, and I'm not going to stop, but I'm tired.
Yeah.
And, 23 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So that's when your friends pick you up. And that's what they're supposed to do. That's what life's all about. And life's not about money and stuff and all that. I mean, I'm going to work my butt off. And, if you put a big bag of money here and a small one there and said you could have either one and work the same amount of time, I'm going to take the big one. Yeah. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not going to be my God. And I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on making other people's lives better. The old Zig Ziglar thing, help other people get what they want. You're going to get what you want.
Right.
That's just how I live my life.
Yeah.
And, it's worked out okay.
Yeah.
For a guy that didn't even graduate from college. So.
Well, Mike, you and Paula, your family, you're amazing. And we love you very much.
I love you too.
And we're in the fight with you, and we stand with you. And when God puts you on my heart, I'm like, I know you just need an outside perspective.
Mess around. That's what I like about you. You don't mess around.
No, I'm just going to go right at it. Right.
Yeah. I like that.
So anyway, I love you. And it's been such an honor for you to be on my podcast. And I know that people are touched and they're blessed, because guys, let's face it, someone who's overcome 23 years of fighting cancer with the best attitude, growing a business, growing a family, growing a life, staying positive. He walked in the building today and you never know he was sick. You just don't walk sick. You don't talk sick. You don't act sick. You know what I mean? And it's all an attitude, and it's all a choice. Yeah, it's a choice. Right. It's a choice that you make probably every moment.
Right.
Right.
It is.
So I just appreciate that the choices that you've made, because you give so many people hope.
Thank you.
Every time you have a clean scan, do you know how much hope you give to people?
I hope a lot.
You give a lot of people hope. Every time you have anything and you make it, Mike, people are like, oh, if he can make it, I can make it too. If you can do it, I can do it too. You give so many people so much hope.
It'd be good for you to share, if you can, I don't know, Paula's podcast with people.
Yeah.
Paula's, blog.
Okay.
Because, that's the reason we started it.
Yeah.
I was totally against it.
Yeah.
And she was saying the exact words you are. She said, Mike, your life would give so many people hope.
Yep.
And I was like, I just don't want to put it out there. And I just, I don't know. And it's been wonderful to watch that develop for her too, because it's taken Paul out. She's kind of in a shell person.
Yeah.
She can never leave the compound. I always say at our house, however we live, but she's the least plastic human being I've ever met in my life. What you see is what you get. She's the real deal. And she's really got a gift on how she's written the podcast. And it's, what it's about for people that are listening is it's, about the whole journey.
Right.
And you could go back years.
Yeah.
She's been doing it for years now. And it's lots of lows.
Hey, is it Eat, Pray, Breathe?
eatpraybreathe.com.
Yeah. Eatpraybreathe.com. Check it out, guys. Eatpraybreathe.com.
And the breathe has a E on the end. I think it's breath is breathe. Right?
Yeah.
So eatpraybreathe.com.
Yeah. I follow it. I know many follow it, but
hundreds follow it. Yeah.
You continue to inspire, and every day that you win, you cause other people to win. The ripple effect is great, even when you don't know it.
Thank you.
Right? So thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate your time. It's been awesome to have you. And I know people are so blessed listening to this.
I'll come back someday.
Do that.
All right.
All right. Love you.